Hello. I wanted to give you an update since my last video. First, I wanted to respond to Lockheed Martin's latest comment, which was that I was out of touch since I had not been on the program for some time. That comment does not address the issues. It is spin and seems to infer that the issues have been taken care of, and I am unaware of that because I have not been on the Deepwater program for some time. Let's look at that statement a little bit. Lockheed Martin and the U.S. Coast Guard have, until recently, used two responses in dealing with these issues publicly. They have said that my issues are baseless and have no merit, or have been handled contractually. First, if the issues were baseless, there would be nothing to work out contractually. Second, if there were never any issues or everything was worked out contractually in early 2004, what work would have been done since then? If everything was handled correctly with the delivery of the first boats, what would have happened since then that I am unaware of? Lockheed Martin and the U.S. Coast Guard are searching for the right spin because they know they have done the wrong thing. What I suggest they do is come out and answer the issues directly. On the camera surveillance system, should the camera system have had 360-degree coverage? Could we have provided that solution? Should we have provided that solution? Isn't it true that adding one more camera could have fixed the problem? Couldn't we have added that camera on the first boat? If the fifth camera could have provided full coverage and the camera costs less than $1,000 each, why didn't we install the fifth camera on the boats? On the FLIR cable, isn't it true that we could and should have replaced the cable with one that was weatherproof? Why didn't we replace that cable? Isn't it true that the program management directed it not be replaced until it failed? On the shielded cable issue, isn't it true that we installed the correct shielded cables on other efforts, such as the 270-foot boats on the Legacy Cutter program? And these cables were meant to be used in the same systems as the 123, especially the SIPRNet, which is the classified internet. As such, isn't it true that since these correct cables were being installed elsewhere, that you knew this was the right thing to do, and in fact directed we not install the correct cables on the 123s because we neglected to bid them? Isn't it true that we assisted the Coast Guard in falsifying the Tempest test by walking far enough away from the boats to get the readings to pass? Didn't you knowingly put the nation's security and communication systems at risk for budgetary reasons? Isn't it true that the report recently released by the Homeland Security Inspector General stated that the SIPRNet system, which relies on shielded cables to be certified, was in fact not certifiable on the 8 boats as late as this spring, several years after the first boats were delivered? And the report also stated that your response to the situation was that you could either make the system pass security requirements or you could make it functional, but you couldn't do both. Wasn't it incumbent upon Lockheed Martin to get this right from the start and deliver boats that were safe and met these requirements? On the external equipment environmental issue, didn't your VP of Ethics admit to me that there was a problem with the FLIR and promised to not only look into the rest of the equipment to make sure they met requirements, but she committed to providing me data on those findings? Didn't Lockheed Martin renege on that offer and file an official report that stated that all of my allegations were baseless, contrary to what the corporate VP of Ethics said in our meeting? Didn't Lockheed Martin direct a topside study be done sometime after this? Wasn't the purpose of that study to make sure the external equipment met the environmental requirements? Wasn't the FLIR system later modified to ensure it met requirements? Isn't it true that the first boats we provided did not meet the environmental requirements and you later took efforts to rectify the situation even though you said my allegations were baseless and you handled everything contractually with the delivery of the first boat? I hope you can see that Lockheed Martin and the U.S. Coast Guard have had a difficult time spinning this situation away. We are very close to having hearings on the matter, so please contact your representative to ensure we do. When we have those hearings, the data that is available will be made public, and other individuals who have stepped forward to confirm my allegations will do so in the hearings. The truth will come out and Lockheed Martin and the Coast Guard will be found to be negligent. Before I go, I want to address the 2 other issues that I have been involved in. Each led to retaliation in my performance review, and along with the Deepwater issues, contributed to my termination. Issue number 1 occurred back in 1999. While leading an effort to rebuild the Training Observation Center for the U.S. Air Force Special Operations Flight Simulator Training facility, I was pressured by the former program director, who now owned a private company, into purchasing $40,000 worth of equipment we did not need. In addition, when he discovered I would not continue the sole source contract his company had for maintenance of the center, he tried to blackmail my management into sole sourcing his company for the entire effort. He stated that my comments pertaining to the performance of his team was slanderous, and that he would sue Lockheed Martin if I was not removed from the project, and his company, MediaTek, provided a non-compete sole source contract for the effort. In the end, management sided with me on my plan, but dinged me on my next appraisal for causing friction with the former program director. As such, I wound up leaving that facility and moving to the Aegis programs in New Jersey. As a side note, Lockheed Martin is now suing that former program director, as well as my then site manager, along with MediaTek and L3, for stealing proprietary information and using it in illegal bidding practices. A search on Kevin Speed, who was my site manager, and the Orlando Sentinel, and you can get the whole story off the internet. The third episode actually occurred here in Colorado Springs while I was working as a software engineering manager for the NORAD efforts. We had been experiencing several budget cuts and were planning on another significant one in June of '05. Prior to that point, the program management team, with the assistance of the engineering manager, were telling our contractor teammates that the contract cut and subsequent D-staff had been contractually avoided. In fact, it had not been avoided, and management was lying to the teammates and the Lockheed Martin staff so that they would not look for other jobs. When I refused to go along with the scheme, I was told I was not being a team player. Soon after that, even though I was instrumental in turning around the program, which had been red, I was notified of several performance issues. My subsequent performance review was lowered to satisfactory, and my position was eliminated in the next budget cut. While I am not a perfect employee and have made several mistakes during my 12 years of service for Lockheed Martin, my overall service has been exemplary. I have never missed cost, schedule, or technical goals for any effort I have led. This includes turning around several troubled programs, including the Aegis weapon system, for which I was a software project lead, as well as being instrumental in the turnaround of the missile warning project for NORAD. During my tenure, I have received several significant awards, and others in the years where these ethical issues arose, I received very good performance reviews. During my time in Lockheed Martin, I was retaliated against and finally terminated because of several choices I made. On more than one occasion, I have been told that I am high maintenance. What this means is that I stick to our ethical principles at times when management deems it to be inconvenient. While I understand that there are plenty of times where contractual and engineering compromises are made, there is a line that cannot be crossed. Thank you.